All right, let's dive into a corner of computer science that's a little bit wild. We're going to talk about a way of solving problems where the solutions aren't carefully coded by a programmer, they're evolved. We're talking about genetic algorithms.
So just take a look at this shape. It's a real antenna, and it was designed for a NASA mission back in 2006. And it looks chaotic, right? Kind of like someone just took a paperclip and bent it randomly. But here's the crazy part. This weird-looking thing is one of the most efficient antenna designs ever made for its specific job.
I mean, let's be honest, no human engineer would ever sketch this out. It's just not how our brains work. It's totally counterintuitive. Which, of course, begs the question, what kind of mind could come up with a shape like this?
Well, the answer is pretty surprising. It wasn't a human mind. In fact, you could say it wasn't a mind at all. It's actually a design by evolution, something born from a sort of digital version of the natural world.
Yep, this antenna wasn't designed by a person in the usual sense. It was literally evolved by a computer program, an algorithm that copies the basic rules of natural selection to hunt for the best possible solution to a problem.
And that brings us to the formal definition. A genetic algorithm, or GA for short. Think of it less like a specific, rigid set of instructions and more like a high-level strategy for finding answers. It's totally inspired by biology, using the same basic tools: selection, crossover, and mutation.
Okay, so how on earth do you get a piece of software to evolve a solution? It sounds like something out of science fiction, right? But it actually breaks down into a few key building blocks. Let's, pop the hood and see how a GA works.
First off, you start with a population. This is just a big, diverse group of potential solutions to your problem. Each one of those solutions, or individuals, is defined by its chromosome, which is pretty much what it sounds like. It's digital DNA. It's the blueprint. And finally, and this is maybe the most important piece of the whole puzzle, you have the fitness function. Think of this as the judge. It's a simple rule that scores just how good each solution is at solving the problem.
Now that fitness function, that's the real secret sauce here. It is the absolute heart of any genetic algorithm. And it's totally custom. You have to define what good actually means for the problem you're trying to solve. For that NASA antenna, good was probably about signal strength. If you're trying to create a class schedule, good means minimizing conflicts.
Let's use a classic example to make this really clear, the knapsack problem. Imagine you're packing a backpack that has a strict weight limit. You have a pile of items, each with a different value. Your goal is to cram the most valuable combination of stuff into the bag. The fitness function here is dead simple. If a combination of items fits, its score is their total dollar value. If it's too heavy, the score is 0. That's it. That one single rule is all the algorithm needs to guide its entire search.
So once you have those pieces in place, the population, the DNA, and that all-important fitness function, the algorithm is ready to run. And it really is just a digital version of survival of the fittest. The whole thing works in a constant loop. First, you evaluate every single solution in your population. Then you select the best ones, the fittest, to become parents. Those parents then create children, which make up the brand new generation. And then you just do it all over again, and again, and again. The hope is that with each cycle, the new generation is just a little bit better than the last. So how do you make these digital children? Well, one of the main ways is through crossover. You take the digital DNA from 2 successful parents, you chop them both at some random point, and then you just swap the eds. What you get is a new child solution that has a mix of traits from both of its parents.
The other critical piece of the puzzle is mutation. This is where the algorithm just randomly flips a tiny piece of the code, a single bit of data in the chromosome. Now, it might sound like a mistake, but this is absolutely vital. Mutation is what introduces brand new ideas into the population. It prevents the algorithm from getting stuck in a rut, finding a solution that's just good enough instead of pushing towards something great.
And this simple process, selection, crossover, and mutation, turns out to be an incredibly powerful combo. So let's take a look at how this idea moves from being a cool thought experiment to something that creates real-world products.
Seriously, the applications are all over the map. People use GIS for everything from solving Sudoku puzzles to optimizing unbelievably complex things, like flight schedules for an entire airline. And of course, they're used to design engineering parts, just like that antenna we started with. They're even used behind the scenes to help tune other AI models or to teach animated characters in a game how to walk realistically.
But for all of their power and weird creativity, it is really important to understand that genetic algorithms are not a magic bullet. They are a tool, And like any tool, they come with some pretty big trade-offs and limitations.
And you don't just have to take my word for it. Check out this quote from Steven Skina's really famous book, The Algorithm Design Manual. It's pretty blunt. He basically says that for any specific problem, there's almost always a better, more specialized algorithm you could use instead. It's a powerful reminder that GAs are often a generalist tool in a world full of specialists.
And here's why. For starters, genetic algorithms can be painfully slow. They require a ton of computational power. They also have this tendency to find local optima, solutions that are good but not the absolute best possible answer. And they don't scale up well for super complex things. You can't really design an entire engine with one, but you could use it to perfect the shape of a single part. And maybe most importantly, a solution is only ever better when compared to its neighbors in the current population. The algorithm has no concept of what a truly perfect solution might be. And that really brings us to our final question. The NASA antenna proves that mimicking nature can lead to some truly brilliant and unexpected breakthroughs. But the limitations of GAs also remind us that nature's own process is slow, it's messy, and it doesn't always find the single perfect answer. It just finds what works. So it seems that when we borrow from nature to build our technology, we kind of have to take the whole package, not just its brilliance, but all of its trade-offs too.